Only the lucky ones are successful. This is what I felt for the first 2 years in my business and what I pretty much grew up believing about entrepreneurship. It wasn't until I realized the difference between entrepreneurs that succeed and entrepreneurs that fail that I realized that your success is not up to luck. Welcome to the VA Vortex. My name is Rebecca Morasudi, and if you're new around here, hello. I am a virtual assistant mentor, business growth strategist, and I am revolutionizing the virtual assistant game. Starting with virtual assistants, but also now I'm slowly leaking into the minds of your potential clients and getting them to pay you what you're worth, okay? We are elevating in 2024. Now, you may have noticed that we have a special guest today on the VA Vortex. My eyebrows. Yes, my new eyebrows are here, and I'm sure you could tell. But we're going with it, okay? We're going with it. I like to think they're very edgy and frame my face, so I'd love to know what you feel like in the comments, okay? So, for a very long time, pretty much since I can remember, okay? And I want to know if you've had this experience too. So growing up in my life, there was always a little part of me that was curious about building a business. Now, I didn't really think it was like a fully valid idea, but it was something that I was always interested in. And I was mostly interested in the people who were successful in doing it. If any of you know my backstory, you'll know that my dad is a serial entrepreneur, and throughout my entire childhood was trying to start different businesses, and most of them failed. Okay. To the point where my family went bankrupt, and my parents got divorced. So that's how that ended. So my view of entrepreneurship growing up was that it is not only risky, but if it doesn't work, it really ripples out and affects so many other areas of your life. And because of that, I sort of pushed myself into a more traditional career path, even though I kind of felt like I was a little bit different, even though I kind of felt like, okay, is this going to be something that I do forever? Like, I don't know if I can do this specific career path forever, but let's just try it. Growing up, I was told the story that becoming an entrepreneur is risky, that only the lucky people succeed. And even when I started my virtual assistant business, this was something that I believed to my core. I was like, okay, I started this, I landed my first client in 24 hours. If that's not luck, I don't know what is, right? I started my business on luck. And I felt like that was the only way I was going to grow and I was only going to get better, was if I got lucky opportunities from people in my circle or from the universe. And that's how I functioned for, I'm going to actually say, a little over 2 years in my business. But here's what I've learned. After working in this space for over a decade and now being in spaces where I'm constantly talking to like 7-figure entrepreneurs, mind blown, every day, is that entrepreneurship is not about luck. And because it's not about luck, it's also not as risky as you may think it's going to be. Okay. Especially when we are starting a service-based business. A virtual assistant business is it is the best business to start with the skills that you already have. And the reason why is because you can just get started and you need to make zero investment, right? You don't need to buy products. You don't need to have a warehouse. You don't need to have like a storefront. You don't need to hire employees. Like, you are doing this by yourself. You are running the business. You can do it as lean as possible. Lean meaning, for as little cost as possible. When I started my VA business, I think I paid for Calendly and that was it. And I don't even know if I did. I feel like I may have had the free version. I remember having to upgrade Zoom at one point in my early phase of my business. And that was like a massive expense for me. Okay. So starting the business and making that investment really it's not a big thing for you to do, right? The biggest investment that you're going to need to make when you're starting your VA business is your time. And that's going to be the same for any business that you start. Okay. Now, how do we create a business, and how have other entrepreneurs created businesses that are not risky and not based on luck? Well, they have a business strategy. Okay. This whole virtual assistant thing, it's not new. Okay, you're not the first person doing this. And there are proven strategies that if you follow them, and this is key, you have to follow them to a T. Because I see a lot of people being like, yeah, I followed the strategy, it didn't work for me. And then I take a look and I'm like, you didn't actually follow strategy. You looked at the strategy and you adjusted it based on what you feel comfortable doing. And that's not the strategy, right? So piece of that is like, we need to be honest with ourselves here. Okay. The second thing is we need to go all in and we need to implement that strategy. And we need to understand that strategy is something that evolves and is something that needs to be refined. Okay. So when you're building your VA business, if you have a solid strategy, and you commit to that strategy and you execute that strategy every single day and you tell yourself that you will get better and you will seek out feedback and you won't let, those hard days just totally throw you off track. It might get you down for like 24 hours, but we're going to get back up, right? And we're going to get right back on track, because if you follow the strategy and if you stay on that path, you will be successful. It's not if you get lucky. It's not if an opportunity finds you. Okay. And the other piece of this is it's not a huge risk, because you have a proven strategy that's proven to work for other people. And in the back of your mind, you may be like, well, it's worked for other people. How do I know it's going to work for me? It will work for you if you implement it properly, right? It's never not worked properly if you haven't implemented it properly. Okay. Especially when it's a proven strategy. How do I know this? Well, I built my VA business and I got to a place where I felt very, very, very good. I felt comfortable. I felt secure. I felt sustainability in my business. And I lived in that for a little bit. And then I was like, you know what? The fact that I built such a stable business is not something that I can keep to myself. I need to share this with other women. I need to teach them, because there were many VAs in my life, in my VA path, that I had met that did not have the same freedoms as me, that did not have the same stability, that were still getting paid like $20 an hour, even though them and I were doing the same job and I was getting thousands of dollars more. I needed to do this. And then a funny thing happened. That fear of, what if this doesn't work? What if I don't get lucky? This seems really risky. If I drop all my VA clients and this doesn't work out, like, what is going to happen? I spiraled, right? As we all do when we're starting anything new. So what did I do in that moment? I said, Rebecca, you know how to handle this. You need a strategy. You need a strategy. If you don't want to feel that risk and you don't want to feel that uncertainty, and you want to take full control of your business and your business's future, and also the impact that you're going to make in the hundreds, if not thousands, if not hopefully hundreds of thousands of women this year, you need a proven strategy that's going to get you there. And that's exactly what I did. And it was the first time in my life that I ever actually took someone's strategy and applied it to my business with zero modifications. And guess what happened? That strategy worked. If this has been holding you back, if this idea that starting a VA business is going to be risky, or it's up to luck, or it's up to chance, and you don't want to take that chance, you think that that risk is not willing enough for you to take, I need you to know that it's not. I need you to know that this is not risky. What's risky is you continuing to stay in a place where you know you are underappreciated, where you know you are undervalued and underpaid, where you know that, yeah, even if you went to another company, it's still going to be the same thing, same role, and you're made for more, and you cannot do that. Living the next 20, 30, 40 years like that, that is what's risky. So if you were to let all of those preconceived notions and thoughts that society puts in your mind about business being risky and that only the lucky ones succeed, where are you going to be in 3 months from now? In 6 months from now? Likely you're going to be in the exact same place you're in right now. What impact would this have on your life if you stay in the exact same place that you are in right now? I know for me, I thought about starting my business for over 2 years. And every single time I went to go and start it, I talked myself out of it because I was afraid of the risk, because I was afraid ultimately that I was going to fail. So if you don't do anything, if you don't take action right now on this, where are you going to be in 6 months from now? Now imagine you start shifting your mindset. Imagine that you discover a strategy that has worked for hundreds of other women to grow their virtual assistant business and create a life of their own design. What would that allow you to do? If you felt confident that you had a strategy that you knew worked and all you needed to do was execute on it, what would your life look like in 3 months from now? What would your life look like in 6? I know for a lot of the women in my program, 3 months from now looks like landing their first client, and for some people, quitting their 9-to-5 job. 6 months from now looks like a full roster of VA clients. They're able to go out and set their own schedule and work with amazing people doing the things that they love. So where are you going to be in 6 months from now? The choice is yours. We can continue believing what all the other, let me say, non-entrepreneurs in your life are telling you, or we can understand that successful business ownership is not up to luck and it's not up to chance. It's up to you having a solid strategy and executing on it. Can you do that for me? I'll catch you next time.